Hey, what's up guys? It's Marf and welcome back to another Asphalt 9 multiplayer video. Today we will be taking a look at the current state of multiplayer and looking at the recent changes that were made from the developer chat in the most recent update. They did change a lot about multiplayer. Now, some of it isn't really changes, more of just reverting back to old ways. But the current multiplayer system, I think, is very different from previous multiplayer systems, and I think overall I would say it is definitely an improvement. It's at a good spot. Now, I'm going to get into some improvements that I think still need to be made in order for, Asphalt to take full advantage of its gameplay and the cars and everything like that. But I do want to talk about the good parts because there are many, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So the first change that they did was they increased the time at the start of a race where there are no collisions. Now, obviously this applies to like Classic and Slipstream, because if you have a ghost season, well, then there's just no collisions at all. Overall, this is absolutely a positive change. Now, I'm going to get into later why I think there should be no collisions at all anyway in Asphalt 9 multiplayer, but overall, this is definitely a step in the right direction, and I think it improves the experience, because one of the issues in Asphalt 9 multiplayer is the start of the races, because some of the cars, just frankly, they have way better acceleration, and they need time to sort of break up the pack at the beginning of the race so you know where you're standing in terms of what you need to look out for, what type of cars you're up against, and what routes that you should take in order to take advantage of the car you have, and try to scope out what your opponents have. And so this gives more room for the race to sort of breathe at the start, and I think this is just simply a good change, and maybe they could increase it a little bit more, because some tracks, they have a very narrow section when the collision is turned on, and I think that still is an issue. But overall, this is good, because a majority of the tracks, by the time the collision turns on, they do get a bit wider. So overall, this is good, and let me know what you guys think. Should they increase the time where you don't have collisions, or do you maybe even think that they should reduce it? Let me know. So the second big thing that they implemented was a rating loss cap. Now, the cap is 20, and in the dev chat, I don't believe they said like whether or not that was a definite cap for the entirety of your multiplayer experience. But so far, I haven't experienced a loss of more than 20, and I'm all the way up in like the 1900 range in Legend League. So I'm pretty sure that this 20 rating loss cap is going to apply at least to the vast majority of races, which is definitely a good thing. Now, some players may argue that this just makes it easier for more people to get to Legend League and whatnot, but to that I say that the rating system in general is still able to separate the really good players from just maybe the casual players who have the ability to get to Legend League. I think it definitely rewards grinding out those S-Class cars, because previously you may not have been able to use your S-Class cars. I've seen a lot of people recently who have been in Legend League for the first time because it is easier. Now, whether or not it is too easy, I still think that remains to be seen. I don't think it is too easy, because I think a rating loss of 20 is still a pretty big hit. Now, whether or not 25 or 30 of a rating loss cap would be an improvement, I'm not too sure, because previously you could lose like 50 rating cap, which is absolutely absurd, and that would erase like a day's worth of driving, depending on what happened that day. So previously it was definitely way too much. I think 20 right now is a pretty good sweet spot, and overall this is definitely an improvement. More people are able to get way more rewards, more people are in Legend League, so it's now more rewarding to get to Legend League, because now you can actually use your S-Class car. So I think this is a good thing. Maybe they could tweak the actual value of maybe going up to 25, because at some point you do want to account for the situations where the skill gave you the last place finish, because sometimes it frankly just isn't your fault that you get knocked down. I'll discuss that whole thing in the improvement section of this video, but sometimes it's just not your fault, and I think the rating cap of 20 is definitely a good thing to sort of account for that. The last change that they made is that they finally brought back league rewards. There's nothing else to say besides the fact that this is good. This definitely accounts for the people who don't want to grind out the series score or don't have time. I am included. I don't think I've ever completed a full series score reward thing ever, because I frankly don't have time to grind all of that. So my sort of reward goes into getting to Legend League, and I try and stay within the top 500 in the leaderboard. And so I think right now it's a good mix of rewards. Obviously, if you want to grind and go through the series score, you can. And I think they even lessened the amount of series score that you need to get to the maximum rewards. So that's overall good. Like I said, I think this is just a universally positive change. So like I mentioned before, I still think there is a lot of improvement that could be made to Asphalt 9's multiplayer. There is a lot of potential. So many people have said that, and I am included. I think this game could be so much more fair and competitive, and it could provide such a better experience when it comes to multiplayer. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So first thing is first, for some reason I still see S-Class cars from Legend League when I'm playing in Platinum League, which is still very, very unbalanced. A lot of people were complaining about this. This is something that has not ruined multiplayer, but it's made it tougher to get to Legend League universally. And so I think it would be nice if that they removed it and they permanently separated S-Class cars from A-Class cars, because especially now that they've had the rating loss cap, I would think that more people now can get to Legend League than ever before. So there really is no reason to put some Legend League players in Platinum League races. So I think that they should just get rid of that league mixing, because I think it doesn't work, especially like I said, between Platinum and Legend League. Now, I previously talked about collision and that I would expand upon that, and I just still don't think that collision works at all in Asphalt 9 multiplayer, especially because of the track design and the fact that there are only 1-lap races. If Asphalt wanted to provide a fair experience with collision, they should really limit that sort of collision experience to Legend League and increase the amount of laps. I think that would be a good mix of changes in order to make collision viable in Asphalt 9. Right now, especially in Legend League, in most races, getting knocked down is pretty much a guaranteed loss. You know, I see this all the time, not as much now because of that, rating loss cap, but previously, if I saw someone get knocked down in Legend League, they would just immediately quit the game, because there was no point, especially if you were like maybe midway through the race, there was no point in trying to catch up, because it just takes too much time in Asphalt 9, and by the time you have a fair shot at catching up or passing someone, the race is already over. And I understand that by adding more laps, that same thing could happen in the final lap, but I think it would at least try to, or not try to, but I think it would resolve the issue a bit. But it would also just make, only more sense for Platinum or Legend League, because having 2 or more laps in lower leagues would frankly be annoying. It would take too much time to complete races and grind your way, through the leagues. I think in general that the types of players who try to reach Legend League and get there and grind out even past Legend League, for example, I think they would be more appreciative of the increased fairness of having 2 laps, because when you play at those ranks, it's very competitive. And I think those types of players really want that true racing game experience. I know that I do, and I've talked to a lot of people who sort of want that like side-by-side, competitive, neck-to-neck, multiplayer racing that you see in like movies and stuff like that. And in 1-lap races, you really don't get that, because as soon as you're knocked down, you just quit, or you have an incentive to just try and knock someone down and not play fair, because if you do, that's, like I said, just a guaranteed win. So I think increasing the laps would incentivize players to play a bit more fairly, and it would also just bring back more times where you're neck on neck with someone, and even if you're not trying to play fairly, you have more time to maybe take a different route to avoid getting knocked down, and you have that more classic racing game experience, or just racing experience where you're side by side someone else and you're at that final stretch, and it just allows for that experience a bit more with 2 laps. So finally, I think car and track balance still needs to be addressed, because you cannot control right now what track you play on. It's just purely based on luck, and choosing the right car for the right track is a very integral part to this game. And like I said, in multiplayer, it's just luck based, and that experience keeps cars like the Huracan very overpowered, because the only thing that those types of cars are bad at is top speed, and that sort of stat really only gives drivers a big advantage on a few tracks like Himalayas and Cairo. And in most tracks, these cars, you know, like the Huracan, are just objectively better. So there's no reason to go out of your way to play with, you know, an Apollo or something like that. Now, I understand if you're very, very skilled and the other players are not, you can absolutely smoke someone in a Huracan if you have an Apollo on like Caribbean or something like that. But I'm just talking about the overall meta, not very specific examples. So I think if there was a way to select what tracks you want to play, like maybe having a pool of 3 or 4 tracks that you want to play definitely, or if they brought back the voting system from Asphalt 8, I think that would definitely fix the issue, or at least, you know, solve it in a pretty good and pretty reasonable fashion. So overall, let me know your thoughts on the current state of multiplayer in Asphalt 9. Do you enjoy it? Do you think there were some bad changes? And also, what do you think could be improved about multiplayer? Let me know in the comments, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.